Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the webinar this evening. My name is Amy from Welfare Matters, and together with my colleagues Wanya and Divya, we'll be hosting today's webinar. So we're very happy to continue our webinar series with today's topic and our speaker, Wich, who is Managing Director Thailand for Sinergia Animal. So after a short introduction, Wich will deliver the main presentation. And also her colleague, Among, Managing Director Indonesia, will join as well for the Q&A session. Gentle reminder before we start that we want this to be a safe space for everyone to express your views. So let's all just help to keep the tone respectful. Thank you. But before I hand over to Wich, we'll just share a few slides about why farmed animal welfare is so important. Because some of you may be new to this topic. I know a lot of you will know this already. So just an introduction. First, it's useful to just explain what we mean by farmed animal welfare. So we'll use the definition used by World Animal Protection. So animal welfare refers to the quality of life experienced by an animal, and it encompasses how well the animal is coping with his or her current situation and surroundings. And if we're thinking about what it means for an animal to have good welfare, we shouldn't only look at the absence of suffering, but also the ability of the animal to have a life worth living and to have positive experiences. So why is the welfare of farmed animals particularly important? We know they're sentient beings capable of a whole range of emotions, sensations. But when animals are farmed for their meat, milk, or eggs, they tend to be treated as commodities rather than sentient beings, and profit is put before welfare. And this is especially true in the industrial farming systems, where as many animals as possible are crammed into the smallest space possible and at the lowest cost possible. So this means overcrowded, unnatural conditions. And unfortunately, these systems, intensive systems, are common today, especially as animals are being farmed in increasingly large numbers. And we know in Indonesia and Thailand, for example, governments are pushing for the modernization of farming systems, which means more of these industrialized types of animal farming. So this is closed systems, animals kept indoors. We also know farmed animals tend to be given less protection by law than other animals. And even if laws do exist, they tend to not be enforced very well. Some countries have standards for farm animals, but a lot of times these are voluntary, and again, they're very difficult to enforce. And also, when we're talking about farm animals, we have to think about the huge numbers involved. So we know that every year, over 70 billion land animals are killed for food. So farmed animals can suffer at every stage of their life. So it can be from poor conditions on the farms they're raised on, the way they're transported to slaughterhouses, to markets. And we know in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of welfare concerns at the animal markets themselves. They're often noisy, stressful environments. Animals are crammed into tiny cages. They often see other animals being slaughtered in front of them. And of course, slaughter itself is a highly stressful process that causes pain. So how many animals are farmed for food in Southeast Asia in particular? I mean, it's hard to get the actual figures, but we can get some idea by looking at the number of animals slaughtered. So if you look at this table, you can see this is numbers from 2021, how many animals were slaughtered in Southeast Asia for food. So we can see the numbers are huge, especially the broiler chickens, nearly 8.5 billion broiler chickens. This is the chickens raised specifically for their meat, over 246 million ducks, over 88 million pigs, and the other numbers are huge as well. If we look at Indonesia and Thailand in particular, we can see Indonesia actually accounts for over half of the broiler chickens slaughtered in Southeast Asia. Next comes Thailand, for a number of broiler chickens killed. And after Vietnam, Indonesia and Thailand account for the most duck slaughtered as well. So the poultry industry is huge in these two countries. And we mustn't forget the animals raised for their milk and eggs as well, not just the animals that are killed for the meat. So the dairy industry is newer in this part of the world than in other parts of the world. But in fact, there are over 1 million dairy cows in Southeast Asia as of 2021. And nearly 768 million layer hens. So the egg industry is huge as well. So what does animal agriculture look like in Indonesia and Thailand, our countries of focus for today? Welfare Matters actually recently conducted some research to establish an overview of the landscape of industrial animal agriculture in Southeast Asia, focusing on 6 countries. And this will be accessible to the public soon, this research. But in the following slides, I'll just highlight some facts and figures that we found, mainly for poultry and pig farming, because these are the land animals farmed in the greatest numbers, and they tend to be the most industrialized systems. Cattle and goat farming happen on a relatively smaller scale compared to the poultry and pigs, but they're still worth mentioning. We know that Indonesia is the largest poultry producer in Southeast Asia, and it's estimated about 60% of the poultry raised are actually raised on industrial farms, enclosed housing systems. And large corporations have actually made this possible. They've played a big role in bringing money into Indonesia, upgrading the existing technology so that the animals can be farmed in these ways. We know in Indonesia, chicken consumption by the public has actually increased as well. So this is driving some of this increased production. We don't have so much data for duck farms. It's a bit harder to find this data, but perhaps Wich could share some more, Wich and Amon could share some more later. When it comes to pig farming, most pigs are still on smallholder farms, but there are some larger farms opening up with over 1,000 pigs on them. We see the welfare standards on these pig farms are not very good. The pigs are kept in small pens on concrete floors. Gestation crates are used for the pregnant sows to restrain them during their pregnancies. We do see the demand for beef, goat, sheep meat increasing as well. So this is something to be aware of. And again, we see welfare concerns for animals at all points of their lives. Again, I think Wich will be sharing more about this later. In Indonesia, if we look at the egg and dairy industries, there is increasing demand for dairy products in Southeast Asia. Indonesia produces a significant proportion of the milk in Southeast Asia, and actually the highest number of dairy cows are found in Indonesia, mostly on Java. Indonesia is the largest producer of eggs in Southeast Asia, with over 368 million layer hens. And there are also farms where ducks are being kept for their eggs as well. And I know that Sinergia has done some work on this. Coming to Thailand, poultry again is a huge industry in Thailand. Most chicken farms are the smaller type, but in terms of the numbers of chickens, most of them are actually raised in industrial farms. Most of it happens in the central region of Thailand, where slaughterhouses, feed mills, and food processing plants are located. And we actually see that the large size farms with an average of over 70,000 broiler chicks per farm accounts for 90% of the broiler chicken production in the central region. So definitely a lot of the chickens are being raised on these intensive industrial farms. We see pig production. Again, there's still smallholder farms, backyard farmers, but it is becoming increasingly intensified, particularly in the past 15, 20 years. And we also have cattle farming in Thailand. There's increasing use of feedlots to fatten up the beef cattle. Instead of the free range grazing that we may have seen in the past, the cattle are tied in one place and fed food instead of being allowed to graze. Goat farming is quite important in Thailand as well, contributing to the economy. But again, this is mainly smallholder farms, but it's another thing that we can keep an eye on. And Thailand is actually the biggest milk producer in Southeast Asia. And the egg industry is also very big, with over 95 million egg-laying hens. So that was just a very quick overview of the situation. Which and Among are the experts, so they'll tell us in more detail. So the good news is there is lots that can be done to reduce the suffering of farmed animals. And there are some fantastic organizations that are addressing these issues in Southeast Asia. We're very lucky to have Wich here, sharing some of the work that Sinergia has been doing. So I'm now going to hand over to Wich to tell us all about awareness raising and farmed animal protection in Thailand and Indonesia. So over to you, Wich, and thank you for being here this evening.
Of course, and thank you so much, Amy, for the introduction. Give me 3 seconds to share the screen, and then I will start the presentation. All right, so would the host, or Wangi or Divya, would you be able to let me know if you see the slides?
It's great.
Properly?
We can see it.
Thank you so much. All right, so thank you again, Amy, for an amazing introduction of the statistics and everything. And you're right when you say that there's so much work to be done in this region. Good news is that there are many more organizations working to help animals now when compared to 2019, when we just started in Thailand and Indonesia. So, and I'm going to start the presentation, and yeah, as Amy has already introduced me, my name is Wich. I am the Managing Director for Thailand for Sinergia Animal. And although my work right now involves just Thailand, this presentation will cover our work both in Thailand and Indonesia. So just a quick note that in Indonesia, we operate under the name of Act for Farm Animals, which is a coalition between Sinergia Animal and our dear partner organization, Animal Friends Jogja. We are very grateful with this coalition, because if it wasn't for Animal Friends Jogja, our work in Indonesia would be very difficult or even impossible. So my friend and colleague Among, who is the director of this coalition, will also be present here for the Q&A to answer all the questions that you might have about Indonesia. So my hope for this session is to share with you about who we are, about our vision and values, and how our vision and values culminate into the activities that we chose to do in Thailand and Indonesia. I will conclude with the future plans, and I hope that we can use this opportunity to open up new possibilities for collaborations. With that, I would like to start briefly about our organization. So we are called Sinergia Animal, and we are originally we were founded in Latin American countries and started working there first in 2017. So the name is Spanish and Portuguese name, actually. And so we were established with the aim to focus our work in the Global South countries where there is no other organizations, or there are, but very few organizations working on the same issue. And then in 2019, we expanded our work to 2 Southeast Asian countries, which are Thailand and Indonesia. So we are a vegan organization. People, everyone on the management team, are vegan. We believe strongly that no animals should have to suffer or exploited for food. And that's the world that we would like to help build. And we see that improving animal welfare or reducing animal suffering, it's a very important work. We don't see welfare as an end goal, but we also recognize that the shift to a more plant-based food system is going to take a lot of time and a major shift at the societal level. And there are, as Amy has presented earlier, there are so many animals who are suffering under the system right now. Their suffering is real and it is urgent. So we have to do something to help them. Phasing out the worst form of confinement to help reduce animal suffering is the work that is needed in the short term. So about our values, we use cost-effective interventions with measurable outcomes, and the approaches that we chose are based on pragmatism, meaning that we focus on approaches and strategies that have been tested by other organizations before, and we have seen that it is working. And most obviously that we have to emphasize, we focus on the Global South. We are only working in the Global South countries, so you will not see us expanding in countries like the US or in other European countries, because there are many organizations who are doing this very important work already. So the vision and the values that I spoke earlier in the previous slide culminate into different programs that we chose to perform right now. And we have many different programs, but I selected the main ones to speak about to fit in the time that we have today. So there are 5 programs that I chose to speak about today: food policy programs, campaigns to end cages in Southeast Asia, investigations, government engagement, and re-granting programs. And I will go into each individual program later on in this presentation. So let's start first with food policy programs. So the objective is to reduce the consumption of animal-based foods. And we do this by encourage individuals and institutions to shift to a more plant-based diet and reduce the consumption of animal-based products. So we have programs that establish with the aim to influence people's consumption pattern and behaviors at both levels, individual and institutional. We don't encourage people to buy higher welfare products, but we rather encourage them to reduce, or if they can, eliminate the consumption of animal-based products and shift to a more plant-based food. And we have established 2 programs to tackle both levels, which are Vegan Challenge, which is we influence people at the individual level, and Nourishing Tomorrow programs, which we influence institutions. So let's start from the Vegan Challenge. So this is the program that encouraged individuals to shift to a more plant-based food, to try plant-based diet. So what we do in both countries is that we provide online community, like supportive online communities for people who would like to start trying veganism or curious to learn more, but they don't know where to start. They have this program as a resource to go through. And in this program, apart from the supportive community, we also provide free advice from professional dietitian, free recipes. And I mean, we mainly talk about food and diet because that's the things first thing people think about when they want to shift their lifestyle. But in these programs, we also provide education about other forms of exploitation as well, including visiting zoos or aquariums and animal testing in cosmetic industry, in case people would like to extend their lifestyle change to something beyond their diet change. So the programs in both countries have been a great success. So in the first half of this year only, we only have half a year passed, and we managed to get 10,000 signups from both countries. These are the people who have shown interest in trying plant-based diet or shifting their lifestyle to a more plant-based one. So for Nourishing Tomorrow program, this program, by the way, has local names in each country. So we cater to local context. So this is a program in which we engage with private and public institutions, for example, schools or non-food companies, and we encourage them to serve at least 1 plant-based meal a week. And we provide training and cooking demonstration for them. We help them plan the meal and like ingredients list, and we provide support and advice on how to implement the plant-based meal until the implementation is complete. And the institution should be able to implement this on their own independently after the program, after our work with them has done. So altogether, since we have started in Thailand and Indonesia combined, we secure 11 institutions to commit to serve one entirely plant-based meal a week, and that each meal, so each institution amounts to 14 to 20% of reduction of meat reduction. And in Indonesia, there are 2 institutions who have committed to only serve plant-based meal, one entirely 100%. So that's a very groundbreaking commitment. We are looking forward to see that in Thailand soon. So we are trying to follow Indonesia's footsteps here. So the next one is our campaigns to end cages for egg-laying hen in Southeast Asia. The objective is to eliminate the practice that inflict the most harm on animals in the egg industry. In this case, is the cages, battery cages that which the majority of hens are being confined in right now. And we do this by major corporations, major food corporations, who are the biggest buyer of eggs, to announce the commitment that they will no longer source eggs from cage farms. And we don't just let them announce a commitment and let them do their own thing. We hold them accountable as well by ask them to report the progress of their transition. I will also go into that soon. And again, back to pragmatism, which is the core of our approach, right? As much as we want big corporations to like stop exploiting animals entirely and shift the entire supply chain to plant-based one, we have to admit that it is not possible. They are going to make what is profitable for them. So what we ask corporations instead is that we ask them to do their part and move away from the practice that is the most harmful to animals. And another thing that I did not add on the slide here is that in Indonesia, we work with farmers to help farmers who would like to transition from cage system to cage-free system as well. And then we connect these farmers with the companies who would like to buy cage-free eggs. So this is the work that we are doing in Indonesia only and not yet in Thailand. So you might wonder how it's like for us to like our campaigns to end cages in Thailand. You might wonder how it's like. So we use the combination of negotiations and pressure campaigns to convince companies to announce the commitment. So how it's looked like is that we start engaging companies, asking to have meetings, and then present them with the benefits of why it's important for them to move away from cages, and educate them about the suffering that hens have to endure when they are being kept in cages. And strategically, we will select some companies who we think can influence the industry the most, and we launch pressure campaigns we place ads in public transportation like this one, the photo I put here. It's the advertisements we place on a local bus for Siam Macro, and we show the bus line that pass through some locations of Siam Macro as well. So we make sure that they see it, it's in their face, and they cannot look away. And we also do street actions as well. So meaning we organize a peaceful street actions in front of, it can be a headquarters of a company, or it can be in front of a store of our target companies as well. This is a photo from Indonesia when we were campaigning, asking McDonald's to stop sourcing eggs from cage farms. This is one of my favorite actions, actually. It was hidden, but we have a mascot, like a mascot of Ronald McDonald's, who looks very evil. And this was a very successful street action because it had many media coverage in Indonesia. And since we have started this work, we managed to secure 27 commitments in Thailand and Indonesia, and this includes global commitments from companies that have operations in either Thailand and Indonesia as well. And we have found after more than 3 years of working in Thailand, Indonesia, we have found that we will need a combination of negotiations and pressure campaigns to motivate companies to work, to do something for animals. I mean, we have heard the narrative that pressure doesn't work here, advice against it. Our experience indicate otherwise, and we think that pressure campaigns is needed in this region to motivate companies to move. So for holding companies accountable, we cannot just let them make an announcement and let them do trust that they will do their own thing, right? That's why we have launched a program to encourage companies to start the transition to buying more cage-free eggs and fewer cage eggs. So in 2022, we started cage-free tracker report in Asia. So this report aims to encourage companies to also phase out cages in Southeast Asian countries, which is a region that is kind of more challenging, and not just let them do the work where it is more convenient for them. And so what we do is that we send survey to them, or we ask them to publish their progress on their sustainability report. We gather the results, and then we publish the results, the synthesis of the results in our report on our website. And the second edition of our report this year will be launched soon. So please stay tuned on our website, cagefreetracker.com/Asia. I have some piece of exclusive information that cannot go public now to share because you spend your time being in this session here. So we see more reporting trend in Asia this year. Last year there was not a lot of companies reporting, but this year we see more reporting coming, and there are some reporting from a key player in the industry as well. I cannot reveal the names, unfortunately. I was told by the manager of this program to just keep this information just secret for now, but please stay tuned on our website. We will release everything at some point. Okay, so moving forward to the investigations. So we believe that if we reveal the truth, the horrific truth of animals exploitation, we will be able to change people's mind. At least it has done that for me. I went vegan because I learned the truth about how the eggs industry treats animals and how they cull baby chicks after a few minutes after they were born, and that's why we continue to do this work. And we also believe that if we get footage that specifically linked to a certain company, we can hold them accountable for still profiting from the worst form of confinement. And with that footage, we believe that we can motivate them to announce a commitment to move away from the worst practice. So far, we have released 6 investigations in Asia covering multiple species and not just egg-laying hens. Our campaigns work focus on ending cages for egg-laying hens, but our investigation covered other species as well. So in the picture in the middle, you will see that this is an investigation of egg-laying duck farms in Indonesia. And all the resources, all the footage and images are free to use and open for the public. You can use it without having to credit us or ask for permission. And you can find all of the resource on our Media Central website. The URL is here, so you can visit and choose any image to use in your own work. So next one, it's the work with government. I think in Nepal, like some people has responded as well that the most effective way is to work with the government for the legislation to ban the worst form of confinement or to improve animal welfare, right? And we believe that this is a very important work. So our partner organization, Animal Friends Jogja, is the one who leads the effort in this regard. So Animal Friends Jogja they try to engage with the local and federal government to get them to understand and acknowledge the importance of phasing out cages. And so far, they have secured multiple official meetings with the relevant governmental units. And Sinergia Animal just acts as a partner and support the work. So we really admire their efforts. And it has been very successful. The latest update is that representative from Animal Friends Jogja and Act for Farm Animals met with Animal Welfare Department last week. And we are hopeful that we will be able to convince the government to release a new standard for animal welfare, which should include cage-free standards as well, and it should be published by the end of this year. So the last thing that I would like to talk about is our effort to strengthen the movement in the Global South countries. So part of our work and part of our efforts is to build a confident and pragmatic movement in the Global South. And we cannot be the only one who do the work, right? I mean, there are a few more organizations, but it's always good to have more organizations joining efforts. And that's why we offer grants and trainings and mentorship to individuals or organizations in Southeast Asian countries who would like to start doing campaigns to phase out cages for egg-laying hens. And in Indonesia, we have started this work already. So we have started working with Animal Don't Speak Human, an animal advocacy NGO based in Bali, Indonesia. So both of our team will work closely together for 2 years. And the aim after this 2 years is for Animals Don't Speak Human to be able to perform work independently. And we also hope that they will be able to secure grants and funding on their own as well. So with that, I would like to conclude with some of our future plans. I mean, we are very ambitious. There's so many things that we would like to do. And here is our plans for the future. So we have launched campaigns to define livestock sectors in the international level. So we ask development banks to stop giving loans to animal agriculture. And we are planning to extend this work in Thailand and Indonesia in the future. We are planning to do this by engage with commercial banks. I mean, commercial banks are the ones who are giving loans and monies to business owners who would like to start some business, right? So business owner apply for loans. So we are planning to engage with commercial banks and ask them to reconsider giving loans to farms that still use the worst form of confinement, for example, cages for egg-laying hens or crates for pigs. We will continue our work. Hopefully we would like to start working with the government in Thailand as well, not just in Indonesia, and encourage the government to start egg labeling laws. So consumers know, like when they buy eggs, they know where the eggs come from, what kind of system are hens being raised in. And eventually we would like to follow what has been happening in European countries. We would like to see legislations to ban cages in both Thailand and Indonesia. And actually that's what the companies have been asking us. They have been asking to see the legislation to ban cages for them to act. So we would like to make that happen to motivate them to work. And with that, I would like to conclude this presentation. The time was limited, so I chose only the main points to speak. If it was too fast, you can ask questions to me and Among in this Q&A session. And I would like to thank you again for spending the time this evening to listen to me talking. And thank you, Welfare Matters, for providing us the opportunity to share with people here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Wich. And I am going to take over this part with facilitating the Q&A. A short intro. My name is Wani, part of Welfare Matters. And yeah, we are a capacity building organization for the movement in this region. So I'd like to encourage everyone who has questions for Wich and Among about their work in Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand and Indonesia, to raise your hands and ask them directly, or feel free to pop it in the chat. I think as a start, I already have a few curious questions. So maybe to Among and Wich, and I'll place a spotlight on you, Among, as well, so people can know that you're here. There's so much work going on for Sinergia in this region. We're really curious from Welfare Matters, how big is your team and how has it been expanding in order to carry out so many programs? And you've just been around this region for 3 years.
Thank you, Wan Yi. And believe it or not, like I was asked this question many times, and every time I have to like do the count in my head. I don't know if it's the same with Among. So in Thailand right now we have 9 people, actually 8 people, including myself. Yeah, so we have 4 people working on the KHP campaigns, and we're supposed to have 2 people on food policy programs, but now we just have 1. And then 1 person to work on relations with the media.
And in Indonesia, Among?
Yeah, I think by tonight we have 9, including me. And yeah, sometimes I have to recount it because we keep growing. But yeah, it's 9 by tonight.
And you by tonight, so tomorrow.
Hopefully, because we need more. Like there's the data sound like lots of animals in this animal agriculture industry, and we need more people just in our organization, but also as partners and supporters.
And to answer to your other question, Wan Yi, about expansion, I think we expanded quite quickly. In 2019, we started with 1 person in each country, Among Indonesia and me in Thailand. And like I think it's been 3-4 years has passed, right? And now we have like 9 people. So the expansion is fast. That's why we lost track sometimes.
It's great. It's great to hear. And as I mentioned, Welfare Matters is really interested in supporting organizations to grow and be able to enable more people to do work. For those who are not working directly in farmed animal protection advocacy at this point, do you have any information that you can share with people on how what they can keep a lookout for Sinergia's expansion in this region? What types of skill sets are you looking for? What types of projects you might need people to work on, say, in the next 2 years?
Among, would you like to start?
You can go with. I think it's diplomatic question, and you know it's better than me.
So let me refresh the question, Wan Yi, to make sure that I understand correctly. So the question is what we are planning to do in the next 2 years, right?
What can people? I'm asking, imagining. I see many people are in advocacy work already joining our call today. But for those who are newish to this space, they want to contribute their skills and their talent to help the movement grow and do more work for animals. from Sinergia's point of view, it might be helpful for them to know what the upcoming expansions are like, what kinds of skill sets are you looking for, and projects that you might be doing in the next 2 years, in case people are interested to keep a lookout and see if they can contribute in this space.
Of course, thank you so much for rephrasing for me. So in 2 years, so one of our main work is to ask company to announce commitment to phase out battery cages, right? And the timeline for most companies is 2025. So which is 2 years coming. So in 2025, we will focus like more heavily, I think, on the implementation rather than trying to get new commitments from companies. In this regard, what kind of skill set do we need? I think we would need people to see people who have a very strong persuasive, like a presentation. Okay, I'm showing that I lack the skills right now, but what I mean is we would like to see people who are very diplomatic, who is not afraid to challenge when they are in the meeting with companies, who like actually believe in the world, in our mission, and also is not afraid to like start using pressure and be on the street, organize peaceful street actions with us as well. But at the same time, we also need people who it's more comfortable like talking with companies, will be able to speak even though they are under pressure. So it's kind of like a wide range of skills. But actually, like this movement is very big, and there's so many issues that we have to tackle. There's so many animals that need our help. So I would say that whatever skills you have will be valuable to the movement. So even though you have like art skills, you like drawing, we need that as well. Like we need artists to like do work and perform artwork that will help like convincing people and companies to start caring about animals.
Thanks, Wich. Amal, do you have more to add on?
Yeah, thank you, Annie. Just short add-on. I think the determination, like as we know, like these issues, it's quite new in Southeast Asia, and we have like a gap of knowledge and history in regarding the campaign and the awareness of animal welfare or animal protection, in particular for pricing for consumption. And determination, it's needed. Like it's not skill set, but it's a mental model that we need to keep push companies and at the same time to think strategically, because it's often that companies, they have like excuses of they have others standards, so we have to figure out how to going through it peacefully and persuasive in the meeting, but also outside the meeting room. We have to put pressure on the companies. So I would, yeah, that's like determination and creative thinking. It's what's will really helpful for the movement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one small point to add. I just thought of it. So as mentioned, like in the last slide as well, we are planning to engage with commercial banks and ask them to start reconsider loans that they give to businesses, right? So I would think, I mean, I have to speak with many people, but what I think this person should be like, I think this person should have very strong diplomatic skill and not afraid to challenge people, because when you go to meetings with like banks and ask them to do things that they have not done before, they're going to challenge you. Like I think this person needs to be someone who feels comfortable or like doing that. Yeah, just a very short note to add.
That's really important, and I think really helpful for people to understand if they can contribute and the fit that they're in for these two countries. We have questions coming in now, so I would read out the one that Kay had written in the chat. This is for AFJ, but I suppose this is maybe among for you, the coalition. Are you focusing on Jogja or Java only, or the rest of the islands in Indonesia like Sumatra, etc.?
Thank you. First, I'm not talk on behalf of IFJ, but I can answer the question like in the general term. Like for now, especially for animal living farm, we and IFJ, like Sinergia Animal and IFJ, we focus mainly on Java at this moment. But IFJ also have others campaign and programs for other species, and it's throughout like Sumatra Islands and Java and Bali. So that's what I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolly's hand has been up for a while, so maybe I'll let Dolly ask the question directly and then continue with the chat's questions.
All right, thank you, Wani. Hello, everyone. Dolly, and I'm from Indonesia. I'm actually so impressed with the cage-free program, cage-free track program, if I'm not mistaken, is the name, cagefreetracker.com. And I thought it is actually a really great way to keep track on the companies that has committed the cage-free commitment. So I'm just wondering are there any concerns about the accuracy or reliability of the data and the information reported by companies participating in this cage-free tracker program? And I'm also wondering about how does the program ensure that companies are providing transparent and truthful information regarding their cage-free commitments and the progress?
I can answer this question. Thank you so much, Dolly. That is a very valid question. And the answer is we take their words for it. So we believe that companies, like when they are major corporations like that, they have the obligation to be honest and transparent with the report, with the progress that they make public. I mean, obviously it's not legally binding. If we found that they are not being truthful about the percentage they report, we cannot pursue any legal actions. Yeah, there are some concerns, but we believe that corporations, like big corporations like this, international ones, it will not be beneficial them to lie to NGOs or to the public. So we pretty much the short answer goes to my first one. It's like we take their words for it, and we found that, I mean, we started this last year. We found that I don't think they were lying because the percentage is not very high. If they I think if they are going to fabricate the number, they can make it more beautiful. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it pretty much answered my questions. But so far up to this day, there's no like a way to keep in track of the progress that they made, like investigation, if you want to call it. No.
Yeah, we don't have the resource to do that,
Okay.
and usually like it will require a lot of internal auditing, which I think requires another full-time like person to actually engage with companies and like study everything from the beginning of their supply chain to the end, and that is like a lot of work. So why we rely on what companies are reporting to us.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks for the question, Dolly. And I'm gonna try and ask as many as possible. So Aim from Thailand is a big fan of Sinergia Animal's work. And Aim is interested in what seem to be key country-specific challenges. It can be political, it can be cultural, and the different approaches when working in both of these countries.
Among, would you like to start first?
Yeah, okay. So for Indonesia, I think like cultural change, it's main the main foundation, how, like, for example, raising awareness. And when we raise awareness about condition with animals in farm, then public start to try to adopt and change the behavior, and slowly it's become a culture, because it's also mentioned by the official government from the Ministry of Agriculture. They say they following what public demand. They not set the standard before there's a changing on the public and industry. So for Indonesia, I would say it's cultural change who driving the political change.
Thank you, Mong. So in Thailand, I think Kun Aim, you are doing similar work. So I think we share some similar challenges. The main ones, apart from like resistance from companies not willing to commit, I would also think that we have a lot of legal limitations in using pressure campaigns. So sometimes we would like to place billboard advertisements, and we have the funds to pay for it, but the owner of the space will just outright reject us and say that they do not want us to use the advertisement space in that way, because we are naming and shaming companies, which is not what we do at all. We just would like to encourage companies to start thinking about their supply chain and shift to a more sustainable and more humane one. Yeah, so that's the main challenge that we have been facing in Thailand, and we have not been able to find a way to solve it. We just find a way around it, but we cannot change the minds of like owners of the space.
Thanks, Wichayapat and Mong. I think that just as the surface that you are able to share, I myself had so many questions about the country context as well, but we are a little short on time, and I think I'll try to ask a couple more questions. Gulam is directing this question to you, which have you been able to communicate with the DLD? I believe that's the Department of Livestock, about amending the AW Act, Animal Welfare Act of 2014, in relation to the policy work in Thailand?
Thank you, Gulam, for the question. So unfortunately, it's our decision to not start engaging with Department of Livestock Development at the moment, because technically we are not registered in Thailand. We are on the process of doing that. So we are planning to establish in Thailand as a international NGO, but right now we're not. We just operate as like international NGO without office. So the short answer is no, unfortunately.
So the setup and the infrastructure is also really important to influence the direction of your work as well. I think that some people are very curious about your collaborations. I feel like I would do my best to summarize a few questions from Kara and Kunari and Nung. So Kara is wondering about whether among you are already connected with UGM and Global Food Partners, and working with them in adapting to the new type of system. And I think also a question about Indonesia, Nung from WAP, excuse me if I pronounced the name wrongly. Have you been working with YLKI? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this organization. And so that's for Among on the collaborators in Indonesia. Kunari is also interested in. I'll try to go at once so that we speak through this collaboration question. And for Thailand, Kunari is wondering about whether you have any plans to collaborate with organizations related to SDG or academic institutions, like AIT Campus Sustainability Club and AIT Wildlife Watch Group. Yeah, so over to both of you.
Would you like to go first, Wich?
I mean, yes, I can go first among, of course. And the answer is yes, absolutely. We are always looking forward to start collaborations, especially with young people from universities. So Kunari, please share with me your email address and I will write to you and speak more about our possible collaborations.
For Indonesia, we are not working with a global food partner. But with other faculty in University of Gajah Mada, with like our animal welfare manager, like work closely with the dean and with the academics of the faculty, mainly focus on bring new scientific based research regarding animal welfare in egg production. But we will not work with animal science faculty, who is the partner of a global food partner in Indonesia. And for next question, it's
YLKI Yayasan Lembaga Konsumen Indonesia.
Also, we've not working with Yayasan Lembaga Konsumen Indonesia or YLKI. It is not because we don't want to, but we have a different approach. Like we focus on which just mentioned at the first time, like we focus on reduce the consumption and promoting a compassion diet. And it's different approach compared to what Yayasan Lembaga Konsumen Indonesia do now in Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Among and Legion. Sorry that we have overrun a little bit. I would have to help to wrap the webinar at this point. But before we go, I think one last question and from Ambari is, are you looking for people residing in Java only, or are there openings for people from outside Indonesia that you'd be hiring? I suppose this might be for Sinergia's work in Indonesia, but which as well, we can jump in on, the people that you're looking out for. And for those who have other questions, we would probably take note of them and we'll share back a response if possible. If not, maybe next time when you come across which and Among again, we can ask them. Yeah, to wrap up, the people that you might be hiring geographically, Among and which, are they limited to where you currently are at?
I can start first briefly because the question is specific to Indonesia. We prefer to hire people who lives in Bangkok or is able to travel to Bangkok from meetings, because we believe like in-person interactions, it's better than online meetings. And we have like, especially for some programs, for Nourishing Tomorrow programs, for example, we need this person to be in Bangkok to help schools with implementations.
Yeah, and similar for Indonesia, for most of the program, we prefer people who reside in Greater Jakarta area, because that's our main focus. But from the other departments who work mostly working remotely, we've opened to application from other side of Global South country.
Thank you so much, both Wich and Among. I think that's all the time that we have now. And we learned so much of Sinergia's work, about Sinergia's work and the progress after three-ish years is such a short time, and it's amazing how much you've been so productive. And you started during COVID time. So kudos to your work here. And we hope that more people can join the movement. I'd like to also thank my teammates, Divya and Amy, for helping to put together this webinar. And we would look forward to the next time we can cross paths with everyone again. Thanks for all the questions and for being here with us this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
you.
Wich and Among.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Wani, Divya, and Amy.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, Deimos.